my channel. This is a new initiative that I'm going to be starting. This is called as Build Muscle Memory. In this initiative, I will be solving a few questions of mains, few questions of prelims, in which I will be including GS1 and CSAT. And this will be done regularly so that you will have a muscle memory built over time. And when you sit for the exam, you don't feel that something very new is, popped up in the exam. So we'll just get started. The first question that I have is a mains question. This is a 2020 question and it talks about the rock cut architecture represents that one of the most important sources of our knowledge of Indian art and history. Okay, just pause the video and think about it for a while. What do you think should be the answer and how can you answer this? Okay, okay, now so I'll start. So this first thing that you have to understand, it talks about rock cut architecture. Okay, what is it talking about? Rock cut architecture. It is going to act as a source, okay, now of knowledge of early Indian art and history. So the word early is important. That is, you cannot include medieval India. This is talking about ancient history. Then art and history. These are two things that you have to keep in mind while solving this question. Okay. So if you were to talk about rock cut art, okay, if you were to talk about rock cut, what do you think would be included in rock cut art? I think caves, right? Then you could include pillars, right? You could include stoops also, okay, because you have stoops of Ajanta, right? There you have the stoop building which is done inside the cave itself, okay. Then you can include sculptures, right? You can include temples, right? This way you can include the rock cut architecture broadly. Okay. Now if you were to include the art part and you have to include the history part. Okay. So there is art and there is history. In case of art, if you think of something, the first thing that comes to my mind is animal symbolism. Okay. Animal symbolism. What do you mean by animal symbolism? Can you think of some animals that were represented in specifically in the ancient history? Okay. What are we talking about? We are talking about the ancient times. Okay. So in animal symbolism, I can think of horses. Okay. I can think of I can think of I can think of horses, I can think of elephants. Let's try and give some examples of the same. Okay. Elephant, you can see the most important that you have is the Ashokan caves. Ashokan caves have a frieze. So what does this equal to? This equates to extensive use, extensive use of animals. Okay. Maybe as a drought, okay. Maybe as a drought animals or maybe as drought animals, okay. Drought or other purposes. Okay. Then if you were to do some more examples. Okay, this is animal symbolism. Then you have designs, or you can talk about patterns. Okay, examples can be example in this can be extensive art form of extensive cave art of cave art of Satavahanas. Right, Satavahanas had very extensive cave art. Also, you can have that Ajanta was built on steep side of the slope. It was built on the steep side. steep side of mountain. This equals to high skills. And this is actually prelims information. This is how you can use your prelims information for mains enrichment. Okay. So this is just an example. Now I'll not type everything. This was just to give you an example. The rest of the things that you can do is there is narrative art form. Okay. There is narrative art form. How do you find the narrative art form? Narrative. Think of an example. Narrative art form you can find in case of religious art. Okay. Religious art. Very easy to find. You have the bas relief, right? You have the bas relief. You have the Jataka stories. You have the Jataka stories. Then you have Tribhang postures. You have the Tribhang postures, and you have the very important Vamyan Buddhas. So you are exclusively adding all the examples. Okay, the Bamyan Buddhas, right? And there was cultural amalgamation again in the same scope, and there was stone art. Tunar stone was used, right? Tunar stone was extensively used. Now, if you come to history, okay, in case of history, I can think of it represents the timeline. Timeline I can know. How do I know the timeline? Timeline I can know with the help of carbon dating, okay, or if some kind of carbon dating, if something has been mentioned by the king, by the king himself, by king himself. Okay, wait, I'll just put this down. Yes, okay. Okay. So if we talk about history, if we talk about history, and I'll just change the color. Green would do. So if we talk about history, I can think of timeline. I can know about the timeline. This I can know about carbon dating can be done. If the king himself has mentioned something, king has mentioned, king has mentioned something. I can know about the name of the king, king's name. Example, Ranyo Shokin. Ranyo, you know this part. Ranyo Shokin. Unnahali. Tell me, this is also a prelims PYQ. It is a prelims PYQ. Okay, I think now you understand, right? Now I can also know about the society. How do I know? I know the language. Language I know Brahmi, right? I know Haroti, right? Then I can know the economy. I can know the administration. This is example is Uttar Merur inscription. Uttar Merur inscription. This is also a prelim info. This is prelim info, right? Then I can know about the trade. Caves were built on caves were built on they were built on Dakshin Path. This is from NCRT. Okay. I have tried to cover everything. The point is that when you're answering this question, you need to underline the important parts. What is the question all about? What is it asking? And what is the main body of it? Okay. Now I have not purposely put in the introduction and conclusion in this particular answer because I want you to think about it. Okay, this is the major part where most of us gets. हम इसके बॉडी में और ये सब में बनाने में ही रह जाते हैं. हमें इसका मेन जो मसाला होता है वो पता ही नहीं होता है. ठीक है. बॉडी कंक्लूजन सॉरी कंक्लूजन और इंट्रोडक्शन तो आप बना ही लोगे कुछ ना कुछ इजी सा, लेकिन यहाँ पे आप सबसे ज्यादा फंसोगे. ठीक है. एंड दिस वाज एक्चुअली 15 marker, but sorry 10 marker, but it can come as a 20 marker, right? It can come in your essay, it can come in anywhere. So put down the information, all the kind of information that you have in this. Okay, now let's come on to a prelims question. This is 2024 examination paper. This is the first question. This is set A. Read the first statement. This first statement talks about the atmosphere is heated more by incoming solar radiation than by the terrestrial radiation. Okay. Now this is from NCRT. This is a direct line from NCRT. If you have not read NCRT, then you cannot actually, you cannot pass this exam. You need to know NCRT. The next statement that you have is carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases in atmosphere are good absorbers of long wave radiation. Again, this is NCRT. You cannot apply any tricks and anything of that sort in this. This is clear cut NCRT straight away question from this. So, what are the projections that we can have in this particular question? What you can think of for your next attempt? You understand that you need to read the NCRTs very, very thoroughly. This is the first thing that you understand. The second thing that you understand is that it is asking you about a concept. It is asking you some conceptual questions. It is not relying on very factual questions. Okay. Concepts have to be built of topics that you think are something that is most people don't really read. Okay. Third thing that you should notice is the pattern. It is a statement based question. You have a statement based question. In statement based question, you could be given third statement, right? And they could change this to any kind of option. That one is correct, two is correct, two explains one, two explains three, three explains one, three explains two, three explains one. All the three are interlinked. All the three are, they can do n number of, you know, um, permutations and combinations in this particular arena. So once you start getting comfortable with one particular statement, you will actually be able to understand the other three as well. So stop reading this part, this entire thing, this entirety of the thing. Stop reading this particular part. Don't read it. Just concentrate on these statements. Try to make sense of this statement. That what does this mean? Where has this come from? How can this be twisted? Try to make sense of this second statement. Try to make some interlinkages. What are the interlinkages that we can make here? You can see that this statement is talking about something related to heat. Okay, there is heating of atmosphere, and this talks about greenhouse gases. So there can be an interlinkage, right? But these two concepts are not interlinked. Here they are not interlinked because यहाँ पे first statement ही गलत है, ठीक है? But you can see that some kind of interlinkage can happen. What if I were to change this particular statement just a little bit? Of course, then it will become true, right? But will it explain this statement? Will it still explain the statement? Let's say the statement is true. The atmosphere is heated more by the atmosphere is heated more by terrestrial radiation than solar radiation. Okay. And statement two is carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases in the atmosphere are good absorbers of long wave radiation. Will this now become true? Yes, it will become true. But here then you have to know that terrestrial radiation is actually a form of long wave radiation. Okay, so this is the second concept, the layered concept that you have to understand. Okay, they have asked you two concepts. You understand? This is how you can prepare your PYQs. Now we will move on to a CSAT question. This is also prelims 2024 question paper. I have chosen this because we have the answer key for it. Okay, so one thing that you have to notice in CSAT is that it is just a passing exam. You just have to get 33%. So pattern recognition is way more important than actually solving each and every question because anyway you will not be able to solve everything. This first passage you see here, you can notice that first question is a passage based question. Second question is a passage based question. And now let's see. See, this is another page. The first question on this page is a passage based question. The second question is not a passage based question. Now you move on to the third page. Okay. This somehow doesn't have a passage based question. Or did I miss it? But the usual pattern, the point is the usual pattern that you'll notice that almost in every paper, every page that you find, you will find after a while, like after 5 6 questions of this quant or whatever this reasoning part, you will find two or one questions of comprehension. Okay, so once you note this pattern na, you sit down in the paper, you don't go looking for the comprehensions. Okay, you know that this is how they have jumbled it. Now this can change, right? They could do that. They could, put all the comprehensions at one place. They could put some comprehensions in the middle. So this is also how they challenge your brain. But once you have this muscle memory built of solving these beforehand, then that also is a smaller problem for you. But that would take away around like 2 3 minutes of yours, and that those 2 3 minutes are very precious. Okay, that is how they challenge you while sitting in the exam itself. Okay, so let's solve this particular passage. Now, this passage, let's see what is it asking. First, we will read the question. Okay. It is asking about the most logical and rational inference. Now, there is a difference between inference and conclusion. Conclusion is what the author draws or what is like written in the paper itself. Inference is something that you as a person, you as a reader will draw. Okay. वैसे ज्यादा फर्क होता नहीं है इसमें 19 20 का फर्क होता है but still. Okay, now let's see the passage. It states that according to the Food and Agriculture Organization, one third of food produced by the human consumption is lost or wasted globally. Food is lost or wasted throughout the supply chain, from initial agricultural production to final household consumption. The increasing wastage also results. Okay, now I've read it till here, and I see that this passage is talking about food, something being the production of food. Okay, it is talking about wastage. It is talking that it is lost in the supply chain. Okay, it is lost in the supply chain. Then it is talking about household consumptions. So not only it is being lost in the supply, household consumption is also a problem. There is wastage happening. This wastage is resulting in land degradation, and deforestation has also been mentioned. There is agriculture practice, which is problem. Okay, it is being linked to groundwater as well. Then it is also linked to energy and carbon dioxide. Then it is talking about emissions, which is again linked to carbon dioxide. And this is the last paragraph that is the most important. Address it. This is the most important word. What are you going to do to address it? You have to complete the cycle. You have to complete the cycle of food sufficiency. Sufficiency. This is an important word. You have to have a sufficient supply of food. That is, you have to stop the wastage, and it should be sustainable at the same time. Okay, now let's see what does the question state. Inference is supposed to be found out. Current method of food distribution is solely responsible. Solely, cut it down. No, that won't be possible because it is talking about an entire cycle. Okay, land production productivity is adversely affected by prevailing trends of food loss and wastage. Very mild statement, correct. Then we have third, reduction in the loss and wastage of food results in lesser carbon footprint. Again, a mild statement, looks correct. Then we have post-harvest technology to prevent, reduce the loss and wastage of food is not available. It is talking about tech. Okay. Okay. So this is talking about technology. Do you have technology anywhere here? You have underlined all the important words. Wastage, supply, land, deforestation, groundwater, energy, emissions. No. Technology has not been mentioned here. So you can cut out this fourth statement as well. Okay. And you cut this out. You cut this out. And I have also cut out the which statement have I cut out? I've cut out the second statement as well. Okay. I've cut out the second statement as well. Now you come to a place where you are not okay with fourth, you're not okay with second statement. You have to choose an answer. Okay. Both of these, no, no, I'm sorry, I didn't cut out the second statement. I had cut out the third statement. Yeah. Sorry, first statement. I got confused. But my point was, I was actually trying to make a point that when you cut these two statements out, sometimes you come to a conclusion where you are cutting all the statements out. Anyhow, here we arrived at the statement 2 and 3. Okay. And this is the right answer as well. So I hope you found this helpful. Try and get a question from your optional as well, since all of you will be having a different optional. Get the answer from your optional as well, and do a similar kind of analysis, this kind of analysis for your optional as well. Okay, practice every day. Slowly and steadily, you will get a grasp of solving these questions. I hope you found this helpful. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Thank you so much.